with Weaver Basin Water Conservancy District, representing, I think, the Bureau Reclamation Projects. And let's see, we do have a quorum. Just want to, I don't know if we have time to go around introductions.
Let's do a roll call.
Okay, let's do that. It's even better.
All right, please say here. Joel Ferry. Ashley Sumner. Here. And welcome. Ashley will be joining on behalf of the Department of Environmental Quality. Kelly Pearson. I thought was online, maybe not. Dustin Jansen. Chris Hamlet.
Here.
Justin Smith.
Here.
Joel Williams. Todd Stoneley is sitting here for Joel Williams. Teresa Wilhelmsen. Are you in?
I'm
for
online.
Teresa? Oh. Okay, great. Robert Moore.
Here.
Scott Paxman.
Here.
Victor Iverson. Val J. Rigby.
Online.
Ricky Franco Browning. Marcel Shoup.
I'm here.
Warren Peterson. He'll be here. Nathan Dowgs.
Here.
Tammy Pearson.
I see Tammy.
I see Tammy. Laura Briefer.
I'm here, thanks.
Mike Noel. Bill Winfield.
Here.
Andy Nickel. I see Andy. Dex Winterton.
Here.
Sterling Brown.
I'm here.
Rick Smith.
Here.
Cody Allred.
I'm here, Carly, online.
Thank you. Brett Palmer.
Here.
Great. And I did skip past Justin Smith is also new as the interim USU Extension Vice President. So welcome, Justin.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll move on to, not sure we have this on the first of the agenda, but a public comment. If any of the public would like to comment on any outstanding issues that might come up. Seeing none, we will carry on. Okay. First presentation on the agenda is from Kanab Creek Virgin River Watershed Council, report by Dave Jessop.
I do not. We're having some technical issues. Can we skip for a
Yes.
minute? Okay, I'm sorry, Dave.
Where should we skip to? Let's see. I know.
I think Cody has his up on his end, so he
Oh,
should be
okay.
able to go.
Okay. Cody Allred with the West Colorado River Watershed Council.
Okay, let me share this screen. Share window. Carly, did you say would be the best? Or entire screen?
Yeah, try entire screen.
Okay. Let me know if you...
We got it. Yeah, go in the presentation mode.
How's that looking?
That will work.
Good.
That's fine.
Apologize for not being there in person, but I appreciate the opportunity to provide our second annual report for the West Colorado River Watershed Council. We were back in front of you folks a year ago, and I've got a short slideshow that just kind of reports on how things are going in our council. Just real quick, this is a meeting history of what we've done in the last year. We're having a success we're having a good success in regularly meeting. We've had 5 meetings. Most of them are held in Price. We did have one in Castleville last fall associated with the field tour that I'll talk a little more about in a second. But we do still continue, as other councils are struggling as well. We continue to struggle on attendance and the establishment, in our region anyway, the establishment of a balanced representation across our geographic area. We have a lot of involvement and input from the northern part of our region, but the southern part we're still struggling with, and we're working on a few things. We have about a third of our council, our 21 official council members. We've done some attendance records, and about a third of them have missed half or more of our meetings. And so we're going to reach out to them folks and encourage them to come to the meetings, or see if there's a reason why they aren't. And we're going to try to focus on getting better attendance to our meetings.
Great.
Just real quick on council organization, we do have all 21 council members assigned. We have 2 chairs that have been in place. Our secretary is Miles Nilsson from Price City. I'm the representative to the state council. We also have 8 liaisons to the council that come from various state and federal agencies. And then, of course, we have Carly and Rachel from the Division of Water Resources staff that help out tremendously with our council. So some of the accomplishments that we have had in our meetings throughout the last year is we actually, a year ago, you probably heard that we were really trying to find some identity and understand where we add value. And we sat down and developed a mission statement for our council. Our mission statement is to protect and preserve valuable water resources in the Colorado River, the West Colorado River watershed, by doing 2 things. 1, providing a forum for discussion and collaboration and coordination among as many water interests as possible throughout the watershed. And 2, to advise the Utah Watershed Council on important watershed issues and ensuring that local interests are well represented in state water planning and policy making. So that's our mission statement. With that mission statement, we intend to develop specific objectives that dovetail with the mission statement. We have not formalized our objectives yet, but we do have a general focus of 5 different areas. 1 is Colorado River Basin issues, the imbalances in water supply and demand, and what future regulations may look like in our basin. That's one of our objectives. We have an objective to continue to focus on agricultural sustainability and productivity, to collaborate with the U.S. Forest Service on improved forest management on the forests that are located in our watershed, and to focus on the adapting climate change and what impacts it's having on our changing hydrology, which we're experiencing this year more so than ever. And then finally, we want to stay engaged in the development and finalization of the state water plan and helping finalize that plan. Like I said, we did another accomplishment we have is we took our first field tour back last fall. We were lucky enough to have Emory Water Conservancy District, J. Mark Humphrey and his staff hosted us at their facilities and took us around their system. We focused on looking at some water efficiency improvement projects in Emory County, specifically a lower regulating reservoir that serves as their main hub for a pressure irrigation system, and looked at some of the field facilities that are associated with the Emory Water Conservancy District real-time monitoring and SCADA system, which I got a clip here on this slide of one page of that system that they use to monitor and manage the water system in the district. Here's just a few photos of this beautiful fall day in Emory County, and this is some of the council members and going around looking at some facilities. Here's a couple more pictures that show the SCADA system. This is a typical service connection to an irrigation system that shows the metering and the radio telemetry equipment that the district uses to put this on their website, and a radio tower there on the right. This is a photograph of Adobe Wash Reservoir, which is the regulating facility that, it's a lower regulating facility that they're allowed to regulate their pressurized irrigation system and make sure that they have enough water coming out of Jones Valley Reservoir to meet their daily needs. And on the right is a typical diversion structure that the district uses to divert water into the Adobe Wash Reservoir. A couple more accomplishments from our council is that we have focused pretty heavily in helping get the state water plan, get our stories from our council into the state water plan development. We did a survey with Stephanie McGinnis. We helped her do the survey on initially, and not only did that, but helped her review and process the survey information and results. We developed and selected some key challenges and issues that she's going to be incorporating into the plan. And finally, we also supported her in her efforts of conducting a local public scoping meeting in Castledale in last fall in October. And that went pretty well. And the final accomplishment was we want to continue to work on an interactive map that we're building for our watershed, building different resource layers like existing water projects and facilities in our watershed. Also projects that are ongoing that are being developed as we speak, and then another layer that would project future facilities. And we're building a layer on environmental related projects that have happened throughout our watershed, and we want to have another layer that shows wildfire scars. And as we continue to build these resource layers, we just still have a vision that this interactive map will be a really good tool for us to help navigate, our challenges and our solutions. Throughout our meetings, we've had various stakeholders come into our council and present on interested topics. Here's a handful of them. We've had Colorado River Authority with Mark come in and talk about the demand management program and just various the status of various issues in the Colorado River Basin. I've already talked about Stephanie and her staff coming and talking to us about the state water plan. We recently had Madison Martini and Isabel Melmer come to our last meeting and talk about landscape ordinance and residential conservation programs and the unified water infrastructure program. And we've had some discussion on the Colorado River Salinity Control Program as well. Just to wrap up my presentation, future focus for our council will be to continue to establish our value and productivity as a council. We will be refining our objectives. We want to continue to integrate more involvement and representation from the southern portion of our watershed. Third, we want to support and continue the continued development of the state water plan. We want to increase our engagement on Colorado River Basin issues as them issues continue to evolve and become more significant. And we want to continue to get our feet out on the ground and look at more of our watershed out in the field. And with that, I will end my presentation.
Thank you, Cody. That was great. We appreciate that information. So, a couple of comments. So I'm really glad that you were able to reach out and interact on the state water plan. Hopefully that will continue as long as it needs to get your story told, and would advise any of the other councils to do the same, because that's going to be very important to be part of that plan. And then,
yeah,
who are you working with on your interactive map? Who's doing that?
Most of the work is coming from Rachel with the Division of Water Resources.
Awesome.
Rachel Shilton.
Okay, great. No, that's
as a council, we try to gather information and kind of produce Word document inventories of various things, like the projects. We're trying to get it, like I said, a project layer where we can really just click on a layer, and if we want to know what all of the existing water projects out there, reservoirs, pipeline systems, diversions, settling basins, have a layer like that. And then we want to add on to that of current ones, you know, if there's new projects that's being developed as we speak and being funded and in development, we want to have a layer that we could easily see what's, you know, the new stuff that's coming on into our basin. And then we want to eventually create a third layer that would be projects that are anticipated to be built in the near future.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
What-
That is awesome.
It's slow going, but I would say our council, I feel a lot better about the general feel of the council, and that we do feel like we're finding a spot here, and we're adding value. We got a lot, you know, we'd like to get a lot better at it. But last year, I think my message, if you guys could remember, is that we were really felt lost and clueless and wasn't sure we were doing anything. But looking back over the last year, I feel like we have made some steps forward, and it's feeling better.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, from what you've presented, I think you're doing great. And attendance is a real issue with all the councils, and it's going to be an ongoing effort that all of us have to make to try to get.
It is, and I was thinking of that the other day when you look around, and I'm like a lot of people. If you're really interested in water, you find yourself volunteering to a lot of different meetings, and we've been on 2 today, Scott. You know,
Yes,
and it's the same faces. It's the same faces and the same people that are making the commitments.
you are right.
And thank goodness we have them.
Yeah, totally true. Okay, any questions, comments for Cody? Yes, Sterling.
Scott, I'll try to make a short question here. I know you want to stay on time. Cody, great presentation, great report. Your comment there just at the end about finding your stride this year more so than last year is the basis of my question. During your slides, I was looking at the upper left-hand corner of the logo of your council, trying to visualize in my mind the geography of your basin, Price, Huntington, you know, that area down there. My question is this, Cody. Is there any, I don't know if competition is the right word, but is there another entity within your watershed that you find is doing same or similar work as your mission is? You mentioned the Emery County Water Conservancy District. Are they somewhat aligned with what your charge is? Is there duplicate efforts going on, or other entities doing same or similar work?
I would answer that I don't believe there is any other entities doing similar work. You know, we do have another entity that's organized through the Colorado River Authority. The Colorado River Authority, where they have advisory committees, and there's a central advisory committee, but it isn't an exact overlap. Its geographic boundaries are different than this one,
yeah.
but I do find myself when I'm in them various meetings that you do talk about a lot of the same issues and have the same concerns and maybe the same general objectives. But I don't think that as far as like the Emery Water Conservancy District or any other organized entity within this West Colorado River watershed is assembled to function or represent the way this group is.
Yeah, probably not looking at watershed-wide issues like the Watershed Council would be, correct?
Correct. But since every one of our tributaries, all of our main tributaries, and then our entire watershed is within the Colorado River Basin, we certainly have a very vested interest and connected to, the developments there.
Great. Any other questions or comments for Cody? Yes.
I just had a comment. This is Marcel Shoup with National Audubon Society. I just want to say, even though it may not feel like you're doing a lot, it looks to me like from your presentation, you've got a lot of things that you have been doing that are in the works. And I think Scott said it best, that state water plan is going to be important. and your engagement on Colorado River issues naturally. So anyway, congratulations, even though you may feel like you still have a lot to do.
I appreciate that, and I'll take that back to our council.
Yeah, great comment.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Cody. Appreciate that very
Yep.
much. Good presentation. Okay, are we ready for Kanab Creek?
Sure hope so.
Looking good. All right. Yes, go ahead, Dave.
Are we live?
We good.
Okay. Dave Jessop, Kanab Creek, Virgin River Watershed Council. I'm the Virgin River Water Commissioner, and I'm also the Operations Manager for the Washington County Water Conservancy District. So here to report on our Watershed Council.
Awesome.
Okay, so just a summary, show you a few quick slides on some of the things we've been doing this year. January 30th, we met at the Washington County Water Conservancy District and had a presentation by our reuse program manager there, talking about the reuse purification system we're looking to put together and be completed by 2045. That's going to come obviously in multiple phases, but ultimately produce 24,000 acre feet of water for future use. The first phases of that are going to be a big pipeline and pump station system. It's going to actually be 7 different segments initially in the next few years here. It's going to take from the St. George reclamation facility and pump all the way back up to Hurricane, up to the kind of the northeast side of the county. It's like I say, it's being developed in phases. It's going to be a huge, huge part of the Washington County's water supply into the future. We met on May 20th. If any of you have been to down in Washington Fields we have a diversion down there. It's the Washington Fields Diversion Dam. The Virgin River Program and Utah Division Wildlife met us down there. We talked about the endangered species and the significance of that facility within the system and helping with the endangered species. Introduce those species to the council. We've got screens down there on that structure that help keep fish out of the pipeline and keep them protected. And there's other wildlife habitat things going on in that area, flycatcher habitat, the property the district owns, and other things going on in that area. Just a summary of the things we're doing in that area. We met on September 30th. Some of you may have heard about and seen the project as you go down to St. George, if you go down there much. We've got the Chief Toker Reservoir that is well underway. It's nearly 4,000 acre feet when it's completed. Showed the council the dam and what's going on. It's progressed much further than the picture in this slide now, obviously, but the estimated completion of the dam will be somewhere October. Estimated completion of the reservoir itself will be somewhere in the spring of 2027. Awesome. It's got a liner, a synthetic liner that's got to line the whole reservoir. It'll receive reuse water, which is one of the reasons why we got to have the liner. Wow. And it's not an aquifer recharge project like Sand Hollow. We need this water to go on the fields of Tokerville for secondary use. Right now, Tokerville's using some of the best spring water in all of Washington County, and by displacement, we're going to create another drinking water source with this reservoir. Fantastic project. That's it on that one. The other issues we had this last year, as you may have heard, we had the big Pine Valley fire, the Forsyth fire. That's on the north side of Pine Valley, and 15,000 acres were burned, caused by lightning. But as a result of that, this picture right here, I believe Steve Meismer, he's on our Watershed Council, took this picture. He's standing at the confluence of Moody Creek and Santa Clara River. Santa Clara is where the Forsyth fire drainage goes down. You can see all that black on the left and kind of the brown on the right. That's the left-hand side is where that Forsyth fire drainage comes from. So you can kind of see the effects and some of the issues with that. The next slide talks about the estimated increase of sediment delivery is going to be 342%. All that water goes into Gunlock Reservoir. Gunlock is an on-stream reservoir, so we catch all the sediment in that reservoir, and it's a significant amount. We have dredged that reservoir before, but this will probably accelerate that process in the coming years. And the graph just shows some of the increased flows we had from a couple of storms we had in July, but just illustrating kind of the things that are happening there. And as far as our watershed as a whole, we're a lot like you up here. We're in rough shape in terms of water supply, snowpack, and otherwise. Being the Virgin River Water Commissioner, there probably and most certainly will be a call on the river. The call on the river consists of calling up any water rights that are later than 1900. They'll have to cease and desist when we get to that point. We'll monitor the main trunk of the Virgin River to determine when that is, but probably happens sooner than it ever has this year, as you can imagine why. One more slide there. The other thing we're looking at doing this next year, obviously we've done quite a bit of field trips, education, collaboration, try and meet with our Watershed Council as much as we can and get out on the ground and see these facilities. Another one we're going to go look at with Ash Creek Special Service District is the Confluence Park Reclamation Facility, which is at the confluence of the Virgin River, Ash Creek, and Laverkin Creek, where a lot of our reuse, we have a reuse pump station at that facility that the district owns that we're going to push water up to Chief Toker Reservoir. We're still a few years out on all that infrastructure, but that's another tour we're looking at doing in the coming weeks and months. That's as far as what our Watershed Council, and we felt like we've had, again, just kind of like the previous report, figuring out where our value is and what we're doing. And I feel like the collaboration and education has been the biggest value for us so far, and we're continuing to try and increase that value as much as we can.
Great. Good presentation. Sounds like, again, you're doing some things down there. And the whole key of the Watershed Councils is to involve all those that may be impacted by projects or issues within the watershed, and it sounds like that's what you're doing there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions for Dave?
Scott?
Yes.
Dave, did you say after 1900 there is likely to be a cease and desist or a reduction?
That's a cease and desist. So so back in I've been the commissioner since 2011, and back 2000, I want to say it was 2012, we did the first call on the river we'd ever done. At that time, the water rights, the Division of Water Rights put together a spreadsheet to see how far back we had to go to make a call on the river, to make a dent in the flow in the river. And we had to go back at least that far. A lot of the water rights in Washington County, the big water rights are obviously 1890, late 1800 water rights, the old canals, Laverkin, Hurricane, Washington Fields Canal, and Tokerville Springs, everything up in Springdale, Zion National Park, all those are pre-1900s. And so, to answer your question, we got to go back that far to even see a difference in the flow. And even then, sometimes we don't know if we see a major difference. So essentially, the water district makes up a lot of the difference on the river with the reservoir storage. And when the flows get to the point where we are no longer storing water in the reservoirs and then we're supplementing back to the river, then that's kind of that line, that point in which we say, no, it's time to make a call on the river. On wet years, we don't make that call. Yeah. But on years like this, it's unless Mother Nature makes a big turnaround, that's where we're going.
And it's primarily surface water, or do you do groundwater as well?
Just surface water. Yeah, being the water commissioner, that's what we're doing. Is just surface water. So
interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dave. Very good. And Todd Adams just reminding me that he is here for Joel Ferry. So thanks, Todd. Appreciate that.
And he should be at the table.
I told him. Okay, great. Let's see. We're moving on the agenda, I saw Tim Hawks walk in. So he's up next for the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council report. So Tim, do you come on up? Great.
Thanks, Scott. Good afternoon, everybody. I don't have any slides, so I'll just give you kind of a high-level update. As many of you recall, the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council sort of sits a little awkwardly in the Watershed Council framework. Great Salt Lake Advisory Council has been around since 2010. It was a creation of statute, but it functions very much like a watershed council. So it's stakeholders within the basin that come together to talk about scarcity and other issues. As originally constituted, it very much is weighted towards local government. So there's a lot of county commissioners on the council, but then there's also representatives for industry and NGOs and a few other things, but it doesn't fit perfectly in the Watershed Council framework. And then fast forward, a decade or so when we passed the Watershed Council Act, and I sponsored that bill, worked with Warren to develop that. And let me just say that I'll just mea culpa here, did not fully think it through. Because effectively what that did was create a permissive watershed council in the Great Salt Lake watershed, and that fit within that watershed council framework, and you would have effectively, had that happened, you would have 2 watershed councils operating in the same space. The fix has been an informal fix because that watershed council is permissive under the act, may create. We've effectively just said, hey, Great Salt Lake Advisory Council is there, but then we've supplemented the advisory council with what we've called liaisons. And liaisons push that membership much closer to what the Watershed Council framework looks like. And we've now done that for 18 months or so. And I'll just say it's working really well. It's functioning very well. Technically, when we take a vote, it's council members that vote and liaisons don't vote, but as a practical matter, they sit up at the table, they engage in the conversation and everything else. So I think that 2027 may be the year when we actually, I think we should have some legislation to just clarify that. So it'll just clarify the membership and just make it a little smoother and nicer. But in terms of the way that it's functioning and operating, I think it's, and there's some folks that come to those meetings, Marcel, I know you're there, but can speak to how well that's working, but I think it's working quite well. Let me just talk about, and this is not an exhaustive list at all, but the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council does direct a little bit of funding, about $125,000 a year, comes out of the brine shrimp royalty, goes into the Sovereign Lands Management account, and then it's spent by Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands under the direction of or consistent with the direction from the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council. And so we use that funding in a variety of ways. One of the big things that we've worked on this year is a conservation toolbox for cities. So we contracted with SWCA Environmental Consultants, and they came up with kind of a list, some model ordinances, some different ideas and things that they could think about, and then we've funded them to sort of work with the council to try to get the word out, to talk to individual cities, to appear before the city councils and talk about the resources that are available. And that's been pretty good outreach. Been a bit spotty. I think we'd love to come in at a higher, more macro level with like the League of Cities and Towns rather than trying to pick off cities one by one. But we have had some really important conversations with a wide variety of cities across the basin, and that's an effort that continues. Another effort that we've been using this year is to tell positive stories about water conservation, and specifically stories that are tied to Great Salt Lake. So we've hired a videographer or group of basically folks that put that kind of thing together, and we've identified what we hope are just some really positive and compelling stories about, for example, an ag producer who's doing something to conserve water, and they're doing it specifically to benefit Great Salt Lake. We'll do the same for a business. So we're going to highlight a business that's doing that, an industry that's doing that, an individual that's doing that. I think one of the stories is about a school in the south end of the valley that really wanted to really up their water conservation, and specifically with an eye to helping Great Salt Lake. So we want to tell those stories and then share those stories. And in a real, it's Great Salt Lake is such a big issue, and it can be really dire and kind of depressing if you think about it. And I think the notion is really to highlight positive things that are done, so that ordinary people can feel empowered, that they can do things that make a real difference. About water conservation generally and Great Salt Lake in particular. The last thing that the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council tends to do is a little bit of close the gap funding. So if there's research out there that needs a little bit more money to get to the finish line, then GSLAC, we use that acronym a lot, too many acronyms in this world, but GSLAC will step in and do the close the gap funding. But a good illustration is there's a surface water study that does some additional metering and measurements on the east side of the lake in some of these transition zones where it's a little bit, we're flying blind sometimes in terms of understanding how water moves. And so we're helping Utah State and USGS sort of try to help them finish that study so we can get better data. And of course, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So that serves the broader purpose of managing resources more effectively in that part of the world. So that hopefully gives you just a sense of the flavor of the things we're doing. Happy to answer any questions. I appreciate the invitation to be here, and I appreciate the great work of the council.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. What give us a flavor of your discussions with the cities? Give us a couple of cities that you've presented to and what their response or reaction has been.
I'd have to go back and look at the list because I can't recall offhand. I know Ogden's one that we're trying to get into now. I think we've talked to, I don't know if anybody can help me, but South Jordan, a variety of them. And I think initially there's always some hesitation because they really don't know what this is. We delegate it, and so we had SWCA asking to get on a council agenda. In many cases, they're like, oh, that you're just trying to sell us something. But where we put out an invitation under the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council name and explain better what it is, then there's been pretty good reception from not every city.
Right.
And they all have their own unique way of dealing with it. Do they want you to go to the planning commission, or they want you to go to the city council, or they want you to just talk to staff? But there has been an openness, particularly in this current climate, to have those conversations.
Great.
So I think it's been quite positive. Like I said, I'd really love to find a way to sort of level it up so that it's not just a bunch of one-offs.
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. So I had another question. Oh, the metering and the measurement part of things. How is that going? Are there still holes that we're trying to fill? I know the Weaver River into the Great Salt Lake, that's always a challenge of how to measure that at that gate there with.
No, I think Marcel could probably speak better to that, just with her work with the trust and all that they've been doing in terms of trying to close some of those holes. I know that study is a piece of that, but it's not a comprehensive piece. So it's an area where there is a data gap, and that study should help close it. But of course, then there's a broader issue that's still out there where we really haven't. I don't know if you'd add anything, Marcel, to that, but.
If I may.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, on the east side of Great Salt Lake, there are lots of small flows that happen sometimes year-round, sometimes as a result of ag runoff, sometimes as a result of stormwater, and those feed the wetlands in the lake. A lot of those flows are not measured or not really understood, and so this effort's been a way to identify where those flows are, then determine which one of those flows have the most going on and try to put a gauge in some of them. And then they've used some really fascinating technology with just wildlife cameras to take pictures to see when the flows are all year long. And then that can be fed into a USGS model that actually comes back with data. That part hasn't happened yet. And then the goal is to really try to identify where those sources of water are coming from. Because as that area becomes urbanized, it will change water flows. And I do think as part of the other gap assessment related to that, Scott, there is now another USGS gauge on the lower Weber, right? So I think it's on the lower Weber. Anyway, there's been a lot of effort in that part with Utah Division of Water Rights. So
There's things happening.
Marcel, examples would be like Farmington Creek, Kays Creek, Holmes. I mean, there's just all those creeks that come down there, and I think after a certain point, nobody has any idea what happens. We know it grows a lot of Phragmites.
Yes, absolutely. Grows it very well.
Hey, Scott, just an FYI, and Tim, you probably know this, Marcel, you probably know this, but we worked with Weber Basin Water Conservancy District, Farmington City, and Davis County to put the stream gauge back on Farmington Creek after they had the fires up there. Actually, after NRCS put in a second snowtail site. So there's actually 2 snowtail sites, an upper and a lower on Farmington. We ought to be able to utilize that gauge or that watershed to look at a lot, to learn a lot from the other ungauged watersheds along the front there. So just FYI.
Yeah, that's great. I agree. Good.
Did that in a different life.
Yeah, we know. All right, any comments, questions for Tim in his presentation? Yes, Laura.
Hi there. Yeah, I just wanted to say that conservation toolbox for cities came at a really opportune time because many cities were complying with statutory requirements to update their general plans to link water conservation with their land use planning process. And I really liked how that toolbox, the timing of that toolbox really coincided with that. I don't know if that was on purpose, but I think that was really
Laura.
great timing. Okay. But yeah, and I'm sorry I'm not there. I've been sick this week, so I didn't want to come and share.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, great comment, because that is so true. A lot of the cities have reached out to us, our customer agencies, needing help with their plans, and it might be a great opportunity to get down to the league conference. When is that? It's coming up. May?
It's I think April, the Utah League of Cities and Towns is April, I want to say April 26th, the week, April 24th, 25th, 26th. And their main focus is going to be on water issues this year at that gathering. So it could be a great opportunity.
Probably a little late, but anyway. And
It might be.
They've got another one in, I think it's October is when they've got another conference. I'm guessing. I don't know. Mid-September.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, keep that in mind. That'd be great presentation.
Great
for the cities.
opportunity.
Very good. Any other comments, questions?
Question, Scott. So the others on those watershed liaisons, how much participation have they been showing up? And I think you've had some presentations from some of them, right?
Yeah, great question, Rick. What we did is we rotated through the new liaisons, many of which are the representatives from the constituent watershed councils, and we had them give a presentation about what was going on in their watershed. I would say attendance from liaisons has been great. It's been very robust. We've had good participation. We're usually, crowded around the table. So great question, but I've been really encouraged by that. We've had a few councils that are here, and then they've sort of participation has dropped off, but mostly those liaisons have really stuck with it.
That's great. Good to hear. Let's see. Let me go to Soren first. Soren, did you have a comment?
This is kind of a related question to Rick's, but I know many of our watershed councils, including Jordan River, have representatives that are part of this kind of acting Great Salt Lake Watershed Council. We have a seat on ours for the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council. I know that's a little overwhelming because there's so many of those watershed councils that you're connected to, Utah Lake and the 4 tributaries to the Great Salt Lake, around the lake. But I don't know if you've gotten thoughts about or intentions about, filling those seats on our respective watershed councils, or if that's something we may want to revisit if that's too much of a burden. But we are really interested in having Great Salt Lake participating in our discussions, because that reciprocal connection is valuable. And I don't know, Sterling, maybe you've got a similar question, because Utah Lake's one of those that also has a seat for Great Salt Lake on theirs.
Yeah, thanks, Soren. We haven't figured out as advisory council how to do the outward, the reciprocal seat. I mean, I think we've been relying on those liaisons that are designated from that watershed to sort of carry back what they hear at Great Salt Lake, backed and be that sort of liaison point. It's something worth considering, but I think it's just a challenge because, like you said, we have so many constituents, watersheds. It's who's got the bandwidth to do it. I mean, in a perfect world, you do have more than one voice. You have more than one connection point.
Thank you. Sterling, and then over to Warren.
Tim, how is the council staffed? Do you have professional paid folks to support your council?
Yeah, great question. Fortunately, when the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council was first started, there was no appropriation associated with it. But Forestry, Fire, and State Lands was directed to provide staffing support, and they have consistently ever since. And so we have some fractional piece of Angela Gong's time, but it's immensely valuable because she, feels some responsibility and some ownership, and she does a really great job in terms of making sure that we have agendas and we have a room reserved, and we have, she makes sure that the speakers are lined up and everything else. So Angela's really very, very helpful on that front. We just have a little piece of her time.
Yeah, good information, because that topic will come up in a minute. Warren, go ahead.
Thank you, Scott. Yes, it will come up. So Tim, it probably surprised you completely that I'm really curious about how we should work forward from here. You mentioned having some legislation to kind of fit the edges together here. The Watersheds Council has a legislative subcommittee. So I'm wondering if you'd be open for discussion. I assume you would be, to figure out how we get together and look at some of these questions like the ones that Soren just raised, and see if we can get this thing put together. If you're going to invoke a mea culpa, then I guess I need to as well, because we were in this together. But where do we go? Where would you like to see it go from here?
Thanks, Warren. I'd welcome that conversation. I think the timing is right, and it was interesting when first this came up. The one thing I said is, hey, let's first do no harm. Great Salt Lake Advisory Council was functioning well, was really worried about doing anything that would disrupt the way that it was functioning. And Warren, now I've come full circle. I'm worried about disrupting the way that it's functioning now. And I simply mean by sometimes we put it in front of legislators, and they might try to pick and choose like who sits and who doesn't. And I think that could be destructive if you said, because right now it's a much bigger council than I would normally want optimally, but it's functioning very well. And so what I don't want to get in the business of is going to where we say, hey, we're gonna knock this representative or that representative off. And so if we could find a way to enshrine what we're doing right now and make our liaisons full council members, I think that's going to work just great, because we've now done proof of concept for at least 18 months. It's functioning very, very well. So I don't know if that answers your question, Warren, but I welcome engaging with the work group. I think we can probably find a legislator willing to carry it, and I think it's time to probably take those rough edges and make the pieces fit, I guess you'd say. Take the puzzle pieces and find a way to make them fit.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I'll pick up on Tim's question there, if that's all right.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I'm interested in probably more process than substance at this point. Just, in other words, how do we get the conversation going, and who should be involved, than the specifics of how we handle the representation and so on. But I guess either way we get there. So I think I'd direct a question or follow-up question to our chair. Do you want to see this as an agenda item for a future meeting, or how would we make sure we continue this conversation?
So great question, because we do want to have whatever we want to take to the legislature, we want to have that in place by no later than end of July, August, because that's when things really start moving up there. So I think it'd be worthwhile to add that item to that list of things that we want to talk to the legislature about.
Well, and Scott, if I might, Tim and Warren, we probably ought to have it done early enough that we can bring it back to the task force and water development commission
point.
And all those kind of things, so they can have a chance at the apple. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tim.
Mr. Chair, just briefly, I will say that there's an effort this year to talk about Great Salt Lake related bills much quicker than normal. and to make sure that everybody understands what's coming as far as that goes. And that conversation should be happening in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So hopefully I can inject that. I can inject this as one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Awesome. No, that would be very helpful. Super. Okay, any other comments, questions? Thank you, Tim. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the Great Salt Lake Basin Integrated Plan. Todd Stoneley, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I'm here filling in for Joel Williams, who's in Kauai.
Oh,
so I'm a little jealous of him, but this particular item on the agenda would have been filled by Laura Vernon. So she's asked me to give a brief overview of what's going on with the Great Salt Lake Basin Integrated Plan. So she's not here today because they're doing a bunch of watershed meetings. They're visiting with the Bear River water users right now. And on April 13th, they'll be going out to Weber River Watershed Council plus the Lower Weber Watershed Workshop with Envision Utah and the planning consultants.
Yeah.
April 20th will be the Utah Lake Watershed Council. May 7th, Jordan River Watershed Council meeting. They've on the agenda for that. Then sometime in early May, they'll do the Bear River Watershed Council and the West Desert Watershed Council also in early May. So that's, you can look forward to those interactions with the planning team. So Laura wanted me to mention that the efforts have ramped up on the Great Salt Lake Basin Integrated Plan now that we've got the planning consultant in place. Just a reminder that the division is developing the plan, the Great Salt Lake Basin Integrated Plan, in conjunction with the United States Bureau of Reclamation and the Great Salt Lake Commissioner's Office. And this process is developing a tool to ensure a resilient water supply for the Great Salt Lake and all water uses, including people and the environment in the basin. This plan will be completed by the end of 2027, and it will include recommended actions. The project team is working closely with some of the top hydrologic modelers in the country to develop a basin-wide model that will support the planning and ultimate adoption of basin-wide water resource strategy. This model is going to be done before the plan is completed, or in early 2027 is the hope for that. And that'll be a major achievement, a lot of effort involved in that. Public engagement efforts are in full swing, and that's why Laura's gone. I mentioned those upcoming engagement opportunities already. But we're super excited to get the input of stakeholders in each of the watersheds, and that process is working really well. Laura and her team are comprised of Envision Utah and other engagement and resource specialists are crisscrossing the basin, seeking input on values, metrics, water management strategies, and things that will help us develop the trade-off analysis. Laura is looking forward to bringing the results of the engagement and possible management scenarios to a future statewide watershed council meeting. So we'll be talking to Carly and Scott, Chairman Scott, to schedule that coming up. So if there are any questions about the plan, you're welcome to contact Laura Vernon. Many of you probably have her in your their contacts, but I can provide that information to Carly, which will be part of the meeting minutes as well.
Awesome. Very good. As far as you know, are they on schedule? I'm not sure exactly what the schedule was as outlined.
Looking good. The schedule is kind of tight, but we're working to get some things completed by the end of this year, and then the model early next year, and then the final plan end of 2027, which has been a long time coming, but lots of work's gone into it so far.
Yes, there has, yeah.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Yep. Tell Laura we appreciate her efforts for sure. Okay, any questions for Todd on the plan? Yes.
I just want to emphasize that this engagement Laura and Envision Utah are doing with the 5 watershed councils is really cool. It's a very active activity. Everybody brings their laptop or phone and are actively contributing on like what are your values and needs and priorities. about Great Salt Lake, and I believe she did it with the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council a couple months ago and heard really good things. Everybody enjoyed it. So we're encouraging, go back to your local councils and tell them this is important and get as many other people there as you can, because we really do want like a good representation of the stakeholders in your basin, even beyond the Watershed Council.
Good information. So be prepared for a great presentation from Laura and her group. So thank you. All right, we'll move on. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate that. On to the State Water Plan project by Stephanie. Where did Stephanie go? Oh, there she is. I know they've been around to every Watershed Council.
Once or twice. Yes.
Exactly.
Good afternoon. I'm Steph McGinnis, State Water Plan Manager with Division of Water Resources, and I appreciate the opportunity to just give you all a quick update on where we're at with the State Water Plan and where we're headed. I'll start with where we're at right now. So currently the first draft, mostly complete draft, I'll elaborate on that in just a moment, but that draft is right now in the hands of our sister agency directors, as well as sister agency staff that have contributed content. So they're taking a look at that. The comment period for them, we've asked them to provide all comments by close of business, April 14th, which I believe is next Tuesday. From there, we will review and incorporate all of that feedback, and then the next step will be to hand that draft over to you all for review. And the mostly complete part, I just want to make that clear. The State Water Plan was comprised of 9 chapters. The final chapter, Chapter 9, is a conclusion chapter. We will not draft that until we have feedback from all of you. So you can expect to just see chapters 1 through 8. Also, something that, I guess I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm guessing will not be totally solidified. At the end of each chapter, we'll have chapter end recommendations. So what are these strategies and actionable steps? What do we want to move forward to meet the vision and the goals of the plan? So we are asking for those recommendations right now from our sister agencies, but we would also love to have you all look those over. Is there anything that you would like to see in there at the end of these chapters? So the recommendations will be in the draft that you all receive, but they might not be totally polished or finalized. So those are 2 things to just keep in mind. My hope, we're giving our team about 3 weeks to take the sister agency feedback, incorporate that, and we're planning to turn this all over to you all after about 3 weeks. So I'll give you a window. My hope is to hand it over to you all on May 7th, which is a Thursday, but it could be May 11th, which is a Monday. And then we'll give you all 3 weeks to review that and provide feedback. I do know that a lot of councils are planning to have a meeting during that period of time so that they can discuss as a group and provide feedback.
Awesome. That's great.
I will take your feedback however you would like to provide that. So whether the group gets together and they want to provide their feedback as a council, if folks would like to get in there individually and provide feedback, that's fine as well. Our preferred method, we will be sharing this as a Google Doc, so our preferred method would be that you drop your feedback in as a comment, but I'm happy to accommodate emails, phone calls, however you would like to share that with us is absolutely fine. So we'll give you about 3 weeks to provide that feedback. We will, kind of moving into next steps, we'll take your feedback, we'll review and incorporate, and then the next big milestone will be the public comment period, which will be happening in early July. If you would like to keep in the loop of when that is happening, there is a handout I saw that Carly has out with a QR code. You can sign up for those updates. You can also just email me and ask to please be added to that and be notified. After that public comment period, again, that'll be another stage of reviewing and incorporating feedback, and then the final document will be available this December. One seed that I would like to plant, my hope is that we continue. This is an iterative process, updating the state water plan, and we would like to keep working with you all on future iterations. So, one of the things that I would love to do in 2027 is meet with you all and just talk about how was the process working with us? What works? Maybe what wasn't working? How could we improve that? I will be the first to say that the timeline that we are under was not ideal for working with you all. So in future iterations, statute calls for the plan to be updated no less frequently than every 10 years. Our internal goal is to be updating the plan more like every 5 years. But even at 5 years, we can really sort of slow this process down a little bit with you all and work better under your timeline. But I do appreciate that everyone's been very accommodating with letting the state water plan commandeer some of your meetings to really move this forward. And I think it's been great, but we'd love to hear what would you all like to see moving forward working with us on the plan. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Great. So we essentially have till early June, once we get to
Yeah,
the-
so if we hand that over to you between May 7th and May 11th, kind of tack on that three weeks. I will say, if you all have members that have very limited time, I would encourage them to, at a minimum, look at Chapter 8. That is where we'll be highlighting each of the watershed councils. Each watershed council will have a 2-page spread. Again, we've worked really closely with you all to identify challenges and needs. We'll be providing kind of a short, just high-level overview of the basin, as well as a success story. So we would love for you all to, at a minimum, review that and just make sure that we got it right from the information that you gave us. But we would love to have feedback on the entire plan, especially any chapters that are really pertinent to you all. We have a chapter on communities, a chapter on healthy watersheds and ecosystems, one on agriculture. So if there's chapters that are relevant to folks, we'd love to have their feedback there.
Great, good. Great, a good update. Any other questions or comments for Stephanie?
All right.
Doesn't look like it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all, and
Appreciate it.
yeah, just keep an eye out for that draft.
We're excited to look for the draft. Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, subcommittee findings on the Watershed Council program needs. So, got a little presentation here. I want to let you know first that we are hearing you, and we're the smaller subcommittee is working hard to try to address some of those concerns, questions, needs of the local watershed councils. So next. So these are some of the things that we've heard. Administrative burnout. There's just, you all are busy doing your own thing, and to add to the load is sometimes pretty hard. The next one was lack of clarity on the direction that the local watershed councils need to take, and we'll work on that as well. Communication gaps between the local councils, state watershed councils, governor's office, legislature, and state agencies. How that process and that communication should be working, because there are holes, there's no question, and we're trying to figure out a way to make sure that there's a smoother communication transition between each of those divisions. And then no time or ability to implement projects, and I'll throw in there money, no time, ability, or money to implement projects, plans, outreach, education, etc. And that one is a big one in my mind that we need to help address. And then the elephant in the room is the large geographical areas of some of the watershed council, local councils, and just the logistics in getting people to be involved and address such a large area. So they've received the handouts, correct? I mean, it was all sent out.
If you're in the room, it should be stapled to your agenda.
So these handouts are kind of the short white paper of the answers to those questions, or at least a direction that we'd like to take. One of them is to seek for paid staff support, whether that's full-time, part-time, whatever, for the local watershed councils, and then it's listed there the reasons or the help that paid staff could really help with, coordinate meetings, ongoing projects, handle administrative tasks, handle the Open and Public Meetings Act, create agendas, track officer and membership terms, coordinate with partners in the watershed, seek funding for education and outreach. So education portion of it, we all felt that was key. We need to make sure that not only the council knows or has an idea of what's going on in the watershed, but the public also needs to, and especially those, whether it's cities, councils, or counties, the lawmakers, policymakers need to understand that as well, and where needs are needed to be met. So outreach, planning, project identification, and implementation. Again, and funding, right? Funding's a key word. And then balance the needs of the large areas to ensure representation. So that's just a sample of some of the things that are included in that white paper, but that the paid staff could definitely help with, and I think would make a huge difference in kicking the local watershed councils into a higher gear and be able to do more with less. Next. Okay, number 2 was strengthen communications with the governor's office. So we've already got several department heads on this Utah Watershed Council. Very few of them actually attend regularly, and so we're going to be asking, like has been done, asking for alternates that can and will commit to attend the Watershed Councils so that they can take the messages that we have and the reports that we've been giving from the local councils back to those department heads. And I think that's extremely important. Again, that goes back to the communications gap that might be there. And then, do we need a liaison between the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget on the Watershed Council, the State Watershed Council? We think it's important to have someone from that department on the council. It may help to address some funding issues or many other issues, in fact, but that's an idea that we had that might be helpful. And then one of the challenges, or one of the channels to elevate local watershed council's priorities. So how do we get those priorities elevated to the departments, to the legislature, governor's office, whatever, to make sure that communication makes a full circle and we're able to at least understand or communicate what the needs are for the watershed councils. Okay, and then this follows up on that, a written formal process to advance local watershed priorities to the state leadership. So, yeah, all of these things ought to be included. The Utah Water Task Force that was mentioned by Todd is very important. In fact, every piece of legislature that has to do with water should go through the task force, as well as the Legislative Water Development Council Commission, and by way of the governor's office, other legislators, other state agencies. So again, trying to close those communication gaps between the watershed councils, the state watershed council, and all the agencies and state leadership that can help us address those needs. So you've got the white papers in front of you or on an email. Please review those and let us know if you have any other comments, concerns, or suggestions on where we might fill those gaps. First of all, is there any comments as far as the paid staff? Any suggestions, other suggestions that might be beneficial? That's going to take some legislature to try to get funding for those positions, whether they are part-time or full-time. Todd?
Scott, our chair. Yeah, I think all these are very, very important, and I appreciate these handouts and have read through them. I don't know where to start, but the task force started, the Watershed Council started in the task force and the Water Development Commission.
Did.
That started out, Sevier and myself were asked to lead drafting some stuff, and Marcel and Sterling and Rick and several others in the room may have been involved in that. And ultimately we went to Representative Hawks, Tim now, to help us get that passed. And Tim, all of these things were discussed at that time, whether we should, and Warren, you too, you're here. All of these things were discussed at that time, whether we should go one direction or the other. I think we can show a need now. We can show that a little bit better. Even back then, finances, budget was not real conducive to doing that ultimately. I mean, I think we originally started out with 8, 9, or 10, 11, whatever individuals to help, one for each watershed. Tim, I think you said you can have 3, and ultimately that got whittled to 0, and somebody else is going to operate it. So I think we're going to have to make sure we jump over all those hurdles and make sure we've got a good process to start that and move it along. I don't know. That's, Warren, that's the history as of Todd Adams can think right now. But
anything to add, Warren?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Since Todd called me out, I'd better deliver.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, I think you've explained the history quite well. I remember the meeting where it was Margaret Dayton, Senator Dayton, that said, "All right, Dave, go do this." And Todd, you had already picked up the assignment somewhere else, and so we just combined the 2 efforts.
yes, it was someone that was on the task force. I think I'm looking at him when he's speaking. Thank you very much.
I see. Well, and so here we are, and I think it's appropriate. Todd, I think I agree with everything you said. Mr. Chair, if it's appropriate, I hope we have this on the agenda as an action item, but would it be appropriate to have a motion to direct our legislative subcommittee to start working on the question of paid staff support for watershed councils?
Yeah, we do have it on the agenda as a motion or as a action item. So, yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Well, unless somebody else wants to, I'll make the motion then. That we direct the legislative subcommittee to develop a proposal for legislative action on funded staff positions to support the Basin watershed councils.
Got a second from Sterling. Any comments on the motion? Any questions? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Awesome. So this, as was discussed, this is not an easy process. This is not going to be an easy ask. There are legislators that already question whether the Watershed Council is legit, is really doing what needs to be done. And so we really need to have our A game on and present something that is, at least we have a couple years now that we've actually have in our pockets that we can refer to and direct look at the need there. So let's see, Cody's got a hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. For my clarification, if we're successful in getting this paid staff, how would it change Carly's role, or does it, or how do they? Is it different than what Carly's been helping us do?
Carly will have a little help, but it'll be a huge addition to what Carly's doing. Yes.
Okay.
Because it'll be someone that's within your watershed, hopefully, and that can help you with on the ground duties like was mentioned, agendas, maps, getting speakers, getting grants was a huge one. Getting grants so that you actually can push out some education and possibly do projects. So all of that is included in this paid position.
Thank you.
Thanks. Warren? Go ahead, Warren. Yes, your
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you, Cody. Thank Cody for his question. Because one thing we wanted to make sure of on this is that we're not in any respect saying we're dissatisfied with Carly's work on her position. To the contrary, she's
so true.
She's proving the value of this with all the work she's doing. She's proving the value of the support staff need. So it's the request. And one of the handouts, I think, outlines, Carly, thank you for overseeing preparation of that. The handout outlines it fairly well. So as we work through this as a legislative committee, it would be great to have any input from Watershed Council members as they read that proposal, whether there's anything else we should be adding to that. But really the punchline of what I wanted to say was we're cheering Carly on because she's doing a great job and trying to get some help, provide more of what she does.
Yeah.
Right. And the driver of my question was on the other end of that spectrum of fear that Carly would not be there to help continue her support, because we owe a whole lot to what she's done to where we're at today on our council, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, I worry about Carly being worn out because she is visiting several councils every month all over the state and is extremely busy doing everything else that she does as well. So thanks. Bill, did you?
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate that we'd be lost without Carly for sure. She carries many of us when we're extremely overloaded our own selves. But on the other side of that coin, with the legislative committee, when it comes time to be working with our legislators, the more of us that know about it and can start, once it's been introduced and we can follow up on it, that would be just great to know when that's going out so we can help move this forward with our state. I personally myself spend every week up at the legislature when it's in session. I'm not there every single day, but many of us try and overlap and be up there during each week. So we'd be more than glad to help this move forward once we get somebody to help sponsor it.
Great. Yeah.
And thank you, Chair.
Absolutely. Yeah, great point. Appreciate that. Yes, Ashley.
I just in conferring with Todd, talking about the difficult legislative session we just came through with the budget. Just want to encourage the group to think creatively as they assess this, to look at partnering with DEQ, Ag, DNR. We have watershed coordinators throughout the state, right? And I recognize this is a very important administrative and business piece. So not necessarily the technical piece, but to look at all available resources and see how we can maybe even fund half FTEs within some divisions.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of our first go-tos, but we want to be a little more general in saying we just need help. And then we were going to go out and approach some of the other agencies if, we're not certain they have the bandwidth either to do what we need done. But if they do, that would be awesome. That would be great. But you're exactly right. We need to think outside the box to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward, that we're not just asking for a lot of money. We have a plan in place and we want to make it work. So
even the quasis, with the conservancy districts or whoever's in the local area, how we can work with them also. So let's not leave anybody out of the list. She did a great list, but that's anybody that's out there.
Yeah, DEQ, water rights are, they have their fingers all over the state already. Division of Wildlife.
Mr. Chairman, I keep adding to that list.
Yes, please.
UDAF, Utah Department of Ag and
Right.
Food.
Yes.
Also, and there's a very effective statewide organization. We were favored with participation today from Justin Smith, the interim vice president for USU Extension. And that's another organization that
absolutely,
we would hope to cooperate with.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say that unless Justin was online to
I'm here. Thank you,
take the
Warren.
time.
Take the plug. Always happy to partner.
Awesome. So yes, we are looking at all those avenues for sure. We have to, because we're going to be asked those questions. Absolutely. Thank you, Ashley. All right. Any other comments about some of the directions that we feel like we need to look at? Okay. Yes.
I was thinking about recommendation number 3. We did come up with a proposed process for how this council should elevate state priorities. Do you want to go over that and see if this council wants to adopt that or make changes? I do feel like that's one of the gaps I've heard is local councils don't know that when they bring something to the state, they don't know where it'll go.
Yeah.
And I can pull that up, maybe.
It is a process, that's for sure, and it's not automatic. We're not asked by the legislatures to just bring things to the legislature. Typically we're given 5 minutes to present something to the to the Legislative Water Development Commission. Have never gone in front of the Water Task Force that I know of yet, but we're in the code. I think we're asked to do that. But anyway, so yes, it's not an easy process, and we either need to kind of not force ourselves on the process, but we need to invite ourselves where we can. Okay, there we go. Carly, you want to hit the highlights?
Yes. Can I zoom in? Sorry, this is not my normal laptop. I'm a little out of my element here.
Oh, that's tiny.
I know. Okay. I guess the basics are a local council brings forward a topic, and we do want to make sure you either present that during your annual report or reach out to the chair before the next state meeting so that we know this is a topic we want the state council to consider. The state council will hear the presentation from the local council and then vote on whether to act on it. So if the motion passes, they'll determine the next steps, which might include creating a work group just for the item. And then that work group can include the local council chair or a representative. It can include any relevant agencies, and they will be in charge of seeing that through. If the motion fails, we'll provide a letter back to the local council because they deserve to know why the state council decided not to act on it. And then the work group will report at every state council meeting on what progress they've made, what steps have they taken, until the issue has been resolved or addressed. So that way, we'll keep records, we'll provide a letter back to the local council explaining what happened and what came of it. That's the basics, but that way everybody knows how they can interact with this process. They know who will be working on it. There can be multiple active work groups at once if necessary. I guess.
Yeah.
Thoughts and comments?
Yes. Ashley, I can see you're saying something.
I think this further illustrates the need for more administrative support, right? Because this is a lot of work, to do it well and to communicate well and document well. So I think if we do adopt this process, more support for that need.
Great point. Yes. Go ahead, Sterling.
I think this process, when it's working, breathes life into the local councils.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When they go through the effort, the grassroots level, to surface something, prioritize it, elevate it to this council, they want to see action. And when they see action, then it breathes hope into their council. They'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Momentum is generated and so forth.
That's a great point. Good. Thank you, Sterling. Laura.
On the part of the proposal that talks about forming a work group, would you envision that work group to be made up of agency staff or other experts, or solely members of the State Watershed Council?
All of the above. If there, it depends on the question or the concern or the issue that's brought up. We'll try to get those that are affected mostly, but we want someone from the local council for sure, from the local council that's having the issue, someone from the state council, and then some specialized individuals, whether that's through state agencies or federal agencies or whatever that might be, on the work group as well.
I guess I wonder if there's some coordination that could happen with like the Utah Water Task Force on some of these issues potentially.
Absolutely, especially if we're looking for some legislation to address the issue, then that's a great point. Yeah.
I like the direction of this, so thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Go ahead, Warren.
Thank you. Just thank you, Mr. Chair. To build on what Laura was saying, we talked quite extensively as this proposal was being put together to strengthen the contact with the Water Task Force so that we're sharing resources and helping broaden the scope of involvement. It's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Agreed. Yep.
Scott, Chair.
Yes. Where am I looking? Oh.
I don't know whether the right word is process or guidelines or whatever. I don't want to be so stuck into a process that we can't go the direction we need to go.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a thought of it's maybe more nomenclature than anything, but the task force kind of goes where they want as they need to in their process, whether it's a guideline or a work group or what have you. So I just caution that we don't say it's got to be these 5 items.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just
that.
Guidelines is a great suggestion. We'll definitely take that under review. Okay. Were there any other action items as far as these go?
I guess.
Do you remember?
Do we need a motion to adopt these guidelines, or
I think
do people want? Yeah.
At least proceed with in the direction that we're proposing, just so that we've got some support from the council.
I'd make that motion. The support of.
Okay. Thanks, Todd.
I'll second that, and I'd like to also share it with our watershed councils just so they can see
absolutely
what's being proposed on the state level.
Yes, please do. Yeah, we expect that. That's why we emailed it out. So yeah, that'd be great point. Okay, we have a motion and a second to support these recommendations. Any other comments or questions? Warren?
Yeah, thank you. Should the motion then, since Todd's the one that raised the issue, the question rather, or suggestion, let's call it suggestion, just change process to guidelines. And then the motion would be to adopt this as guidelines. Is that am I understanding the motion correctly?
That sounds correct, Warren. That's what I said.
All right. Great. Thanks, Todd.
Very good clarification. Any other questions, comments before we vote on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Our work has paid off so far, so this is good.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, please.
Were you going to talk about it's item, I don't know what number it is. I've lost it.
One of the other papers?
It was representatives, alternates for agency heads. I just had a question.
Okay.
And my question was just, will those be formally appointed as proxies, or, I just make sure that it matches or somehow links in with our bylaws.
We're going to have to look at our bylaws again, but that was the intent.
Okay.
Was because we have such limited attendance with those department heads to have a permanent proxy or a permanent alternate.
Right. No.
Yep.
Thanks. Okay. That works.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I have one more question.
Yes.
we have a motion to have the legislative subcommittee move forward on finding paid staff. Can we just, it's been quite a while since that committee has met. Can we just make sure the same people are still interested in being involved
That's a great point.
on that committee? Or maybe just have people raise their hands now if they want to be involved? What do you think?
Who were the original volunteers on the subcommittee? Because I feel like we've dwindled in numbers.
Yeah.
Warren, yes.
Thank you.
Warren, Bill,
Marcel was on it.
yeah.
I think Mike Noel was on it. I think Laura Briefer was on it. Ricky.
Seems like.
So I would just ask if those people are still interested in being on the subcommittee or if we have additional people who would like to join.
Yeah, good point. Soren? You're volunteering?
Great.
Awesome. Great. Brett?
I'm still interested too, but I'm glad Soren volunteered.
Great.
Good to hear.
Okay.
Everybody
Marcel,
else
do
is
you wanna
okay,
stay?
right? Okay, perfect.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great question. All right, down to the council business. We've got approval of the minutes, the meeting minutes of January 12th, 2026. Has anybody got any questions or issues with the minutes as they were presented?
I'll move to approve.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second from Brett. Any comments on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and just a reminder of some of the other upcoming local watershed council reports. So we've got on July 9th, which is our next proposed meeting, we've got the Bear River, the Weber River, and the Utah Lake, 4 of them, and Southeastern Utah. So a big agenda there. So that's only a few months away. October 6th, we've got the Jordan River, Uintah, and West Desert. And then all the way into January, Sevier River, Kanab Creek / Virgin River, and Cedar / Beaver. So those are some of the things we're looking at. And by way of question, we currently hold one meeting a quarter. We've talked about in our subcommittee, we've talked about maybe the need or the value of having it, whatever it's called, every other month. Is that too often? Is that too much to ask? Does that seem reasonable? I'm taking that as a no. No.
Scott, I have a comment. Just, I think, putting aside for a moment how many meetings people have to do, I do think that, with the watershed reports and, just business, there isn't quite as much opportunity in the quarterly meetings to discuss some issues, maybe in more creative issues, really get into some of the challenges. So I think that having it every other month might increase that opportunity, but it would just be up to whether people felt that that would be valuable, I think.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Our thoughts as well. So we'll continue kicking that around for now. But if you have strong opposition to have it every other month, let us know. Or else we might push it to a little more higher frequency. And maybe especially as we get, I'm being very optimistic, as we get paid staff or staff in each of the local councils, there will be, I think there will be more, not issues, but maybe more issues, more conversations that need to happen with the state council. And so the need to meet a little more frequently might make a lot of sense. So, but let us know what you would rather do either way.
Scott, real quick, I think the other balance is we're also going to our local watershed councils, at least those of us who are the liaisons, so.
Yes.
there's some-
Yes. And
Again, we have one on Monday. And here we
currently
are
you're meeting
Thursday, so.
basically quarterly as
Quarterly,
well.
And sometimes those are the off months that we're not meeting on the
Yes.
state, so
Yep.
it could be a monthly already,
So that,
or close to monthly.
that pushes things tight. Yep, I agree with that. Okay. Oh, and there it is on the agenda.
Just for you.
Okay, good. Okay. Any other business that needs to come up for the council? Go ahead, Warren.
Yeah, thank you. You've got the kill switch there if I'm talking too much, so use it if you need to. But if one document that I saw in the last week that I just want to point out, I don't know how broadly it's been read, but the drought information statement for Utah and Uintah County, Wyoming, issued April 4th, 2026 by the National Weather Service office in Salt Lake City, is a very heavy document. If you haven't looked at it, I strongly recommend it. It's got forecasts, temperature, precipitation, and also shows the statewide distribution of snowfall and so on. It's a very instructive document, a lot of good graphics, and it would probably prompt some heavy discussion if you used it.
Right.
I didn't lose sleep over it, but it was pretty eye-opening.
Is there an easy way we can access that, Warren?
I accessed it through a newsletter from the Salt Lake office. So if, contact information is NWS, as in National Weather Service, .saltlakecity at NOAA.gov.
And Warren, I think, were you the one that told me about the super El Nino?
Yeah.
Yeah, coming
And
later this year. Whatever that
International news has even picked up on this. I first read it frankly, in a British newspaper, that there's a super El Nino being predicted, and it's the modeling, the early modeling shows that it will we'll have a hotter and drier summer, and then followed by probably much heavier precipitation.
Yes.
Bravo.
Yes, in the fall.
And it's calculated to be the strongest El Nino that's occurred within the last 140 years.
Wow. In Utah, if I remember right, Utah's caught right in the middle, as always, in the uncertain areas between the El Nino and La Nina. And so, yeah, depending on how strong it is, how far north it pushes from the south, yeah. So cross your fingers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds like we might want to be careful what we ask and pray for.
I know. Always.
Who knows what's coming, huh, Warren?
That's how you create averages in Utah.
Yes.
Yeah. Ron Thompson used to say it rains on average 6 inches in St. George, and most people remember the afternoon it fell.
Good point. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Warren. Any other comments you'd like to bring up? All right, looking for a motion to adjourn. Yep.
So made.
Soren? Go ahead.
This is just a little bit of a heads up. This is Soren Simonson for those online. Yesterday I attended the USWAC, the Utah Stormwater Advisory Council meeting, and it seemed to me that there was a little bit of a nexus with some of the work they're doing with the watershed councils. And so, Carly, I hope you don't mind, I shared your contact information for the stormwater coalitions. I think there's 6 or 7 of those around the state, to maybe make connection with their watershed councils and look at ways that, maybe they can find some common purposes. We have 3 stormwater coalitions within the Jordan River Watershed Council, and we are trying to coordinate because one of our big challenges around the Jordan River is water quality, and I think we're the most urban watershed council. Almost every part of the Jordan River is within municipal boundaries. And so some of our needs are different, and water quality is a really big issue. But it seems like there might be opportunities for some collaboration, and so I just referenced that in the meeting and urged the watershed or the stormwater coalitions around the state to maybe make a connection with their local watershed councils, and that might be reciprocal. I might also recommend to the watershed councils that they make connection with their stormwater coalitions, which tend to focus more on the more developed municipal areas that are working on water quality under EPA regulations. So just thought I'd mention that. And then to my volunteering to work with the legislative council, we're kind of unique at the Jordan River Commission in that we had an established Jordan River Commission that is now kind of filling that role, similar to what GSLAC is exploring doing right now. And I can share, what we provide as support from the Jordan River Commission to the Jordan River Watershed Council, and that's why I volunteered to help, because that might be useful in thinking about some of those responsibilities and things that you might do. If any of you have any questions, please use me as a resource to maybe think about ways that staff could be supportive to your local councils as well, which is more or less what we're doing with the Watershed Council for the Jordan River area, at least.
Great. Good. Thank you, Soren. Good information. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Sure. But before making the motion, I'll send this drought information statement to Carly if she'd be kind enough to distribute it. And then the article on the El Nino, one of the ones, if I can drag it through a paywall that it can be distributed, I'll send that in as well.
Okay.
With that, I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you, Warren. Okay, motion to adjourn, non-debatable. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.